Hare Krishna. Let me readjust the camera a little bit. And all right. So, welcome to this episode of Puruṣottama-kathā, episode 4. And today we will be continuing our reading on the pure vision of Puruṣottama-kṣetra. And this is like the part 2 because we did not finish in our previous session. And I thought with the Puruṣottama Mass, already half of it transpired, and I feel we have still a lot of ground to cover apart from this particular episode. Topic of pure vision of Puruṣottama-kṣetra. Also, I wanted to cover other subjects, so I thought instead of Chaitanya Charitamrita class and Bhagavad Gita class, I would do these on the Mondays and Tuesdays also about Puruṣottama-kathā, and probably until the end of this Puruṣottama Mass, maybe we can do that, because I have a lot to cover. And since in the Chaitanya Charitamrita class also we have just concluded in our previous session the Vedanta philosophy series, so I think it's a good, we'll hit a pause button on that and we will come back to that after the Puruṣottama Mass finishes. But in this month, I just want to cover every episode on the Puruṣottama-kathā. So with that, we will say our Mangalacharan prayers and we will begin reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha. Madhuryojjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanugas Viruddhapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambhara Sambhode Padambujayate Namaha. Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Satchidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanugavarayate. Gauravirbhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priyaha Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathaya Te Namaha. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam bhaktarupa swarupakam bhaktavataram bhaktakhyam namami bhaktashaktikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Dhyeyam Sada Paribhavagnamabhishtadoham Tirthaspadam Shiva Virinchinutam Sharanyam Bhrityartiham Pranatapala Bhavadhipotam Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam Yaktva Sudustyaja Surepsita Rajya Lakshmim Dharmishtha Aryavachasa Yadagadharanyam Mayamrigam Dayitayepsitamanvadhavad Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, we will continue our reading of that article about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's pure vision of Puruṣottama-kṣetra or Jagannath Purī. We have been reading from the Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava, and we will continue our reading on that. All right. Okay, so here's where we stopped. And in the previous session, we went on a big tangent about the entire Sambandha, Bidheya, Prayojana, and the presiding lords, the presiding deities of these aspects of Krishna consciousness, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinath Vigrahas. So we have gone extensively into that. So I hope that was helpful. Now, we will come back. We are coming back to where we left off here. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said here, although out of respect, Gaudiya Vaishnavas do not place their feet on the original Govardhana. For the sake of serving our Acharyas, we may ascend Chataka Parvata, the non-different replica of Govardhana, manifest here in Puri. Now, on that also I have mentioned that, standing on the shoulders of giants for the service of the Lord. There are two instances that come to mind, of which this was an example. One was both in Chaitanya Leela. So, in Chaitanya Leela, there was one incident. I hope I remember it correctly. There was, no, I don't remember where the location of it was. So there's this old woman who wanted to see Lord Jagannath. In her great eagerness, she wanted to, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to take darshan of Jagannath from the Garuda Stambha. And she wanted to see the Lord, and she being shorter than many men there, she was so eager to see the Lord that she climbed on the shoulder of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being a sannyasi, he would not allow a woman to touch him. But in the case of this woman, he did not protest, and he appreciated her devotion and her eagerness to see Krishna, that she would not, in her best, in her conscience, would actually dare to ascend or even touch the feet of, or touch a sannyasi with her feet. Yes, okay, there's some reference, 1424 Antya. So there is, she would not have done that on her own if she knew what she was doing. But she was so mad to see Lord Jagannath that, she climbed on the shoulder of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appreciated her devotion. And I've also mentioned in the previous episode how the cowherd boys, they climbed on the shoulder of Krishna and played with him because he liked it that way. For the service of Krishna, they climbed on his shoulder and they imitated the birds, the insects, the frogs, But all of them in Vrindavan are actually devotees. So they are also glorifying Krishna. So these cowherd boys imitating them is actually like we imitate what Prabhupada says by repeating what he says. Um, and that is Anukirtanam, means chanting after the ways of the great authorities. So in Vrindavan, it's a very different vision. It is not like, especially when we're talking about the different species, even like the frogs, and these are considered very low class species. The bodies are very, very inferior to human beings, and they don't have such intelligence. But in Golok Vrindavan, these are all devotees. All the different life forms there are devotees, and even seemingly inanimate objects are also animated devotees. So, so the cowherd boys are actually very humble in their imitation of the frogs and the birds and all of that, all the animals and monkeys even. Although it looks playful, it is playful. It is ultimately spiritually transcendental play that they were having with Krishna. But such seemingly unimportant or trivial or enjoying, not a very serious, seemingly not a very serious affair, have very, very, very serious philosophical depths. So if we put our logic to it, logic means not our mundane logic, but the information that we receive from Shastra, that in the spiritual world, the cows are Surabhi cows, they're all devotees, everything is spiritual there, everyone is a devotee. So then we understand them imitating the lower life forms, seemingly lower life forms, are actually them repeating the kirtan of the highly exalted devotees in the shape of frogs or in the shape of monkeys, in the shape of birds. So there is spiritual depth to philosophical depth to all of that. So now, so climb the column of Garuda, placing her foot on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shoulder. So in the Antilila 1424, as in the comments it is mentioned, so this is something that the other Leela is the Gambhira Leela. 1424. उड़िया एक स्त्री भीड़े दर्शन न पाया, गरुड़े चढ़ी देखे प्रभुर स्कंधे पद दिया. Suddenly a woman from Orissa, unable to see Lord Jagannath because of the crowd, climbed the column of Garuda, placing her foot on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shoulder. देखिया गोविंद आस्ते व्यस्ते स्त्री केवर जिला, तारे नामायते प्रभु गोविंदे निषेधिला. When he saw this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal servant Govinda hastily got her down from her position. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, chastised him for this. See, because Garuda is a carrier of Lord Vishnu, he is a supreme Vaishnava. Therefore, to touch his body with one's feet or to climb the column of Garuda is certainly a Vaishnava aparadha, an offense to Vaishnava. The woman was also offensive to Krishna by putting her foot on the shoulder of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Seeing all these offenses, Govinda very hastily made her get down. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see and change the screen. I have not shared the screen. Oh, okay, there we are. Sorry. So this is 1424 and 25. So Govinda, the personal servant, he chastised that woman for this. Then, so the woman was also offensive to Krishna by putting her foot, seemingly offensive, right? If you look at it from the viewpoint of regulative principles, from the viewpoint of Vaidhi Bhakti, it does appear that she committed offenses, two offenses. Then, आदिवस्य ए स्त्रीरे न करो वर्जन, करुकयथेष्ट जगन्नाथ दर्शन. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said to Govinda, O Adivasya, Adivas, uncivilized man, do not forbid this woman to climb the Garuda Stambha. Let her see Lord Jagannath to her satisfaction. For another explanation of the word Adivasya, refer to Antilila chapter 10, verse 116. That's interesting. Prabhu ko hai Adivasya dukha kahe mane, ke baki diya chetaha anaha ekhane. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, why are you so foolishly unhappy? Bring here to me whatever they have given you. Okay, you who have been residing with me for a very long time, Adivasya. Purport: Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that the word Adivasya refers to one who has been living with another for a very long time. Govinda was addressed as Adivasya because he had been living with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for a very long time. Whereas other devotees who were mostly new would come and go. In effect, the Lord told Govinda, since you have been living with me for a long time, you should not be foolishly disappointed in the situation. Bring all the food to me and you will see that I can eat it. So he called him Adivasya for two reasons like this. So one of them is long time companion and another one is uncivilized. In this case, he was calling him uncivilized because he did not understand higher principles of devotional service, or he seemed not to understand. All of this is to teach us, by the way. It's not that Govinda is unaware of higher religious principles, but he is right in his feelings of honoring Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the woman was also right in her eagerness to see Lord Jagannath. So that is the thing. Like Hanuman was, Hanuman chastised one squirrel because the squirrel was helping in the building of the bridge, the floating bridge, and hey, what are you doing? You are coming under our feet. You are disturbing us. And what can you throw? You're throwing some small, almost dust. What use is that in constructing this bridge? We have to construct a very big bridge. What is the use? So Ramachandra Bhagavan, he found Hanuman's service valuable and also the squirrel's service valuable, because both are doing their best to serve Lord Ram. So in their own ways, they are perfect, although it may look contradictory. आस्ते व्यस्ते शयनारे भूमे तेना मिला महाप्रभु रे देखी तार चरण वंदिला. When the woman came to her senses, however, she quickly climbed back down to the ground and, seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, immediately begged at his lotus feet for forgiveness. तार आरती देखी प्रभु कहिते लागिला एट आरती जगन्नाथ मोरे नाही दिला. Seeing the woman's eagerness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Lord Jagannath has not bestowed so much eagerness upon me. So you see how we should see. He is also teaching us how we should see. And this is the proper envy. This is, Matsarata should be there in the material world, because this whole material world is based on Matsarata. Should be there means it is not that I am saying it must be there or we should aspire to it. No, it is built on Matsarata, this material world. But in the spiritual world, there can be envy, but not the kind of envy that a materialist would have. So spiritual envy is to actually envy someone's attachment to Krishna and begging for their mercy to get such attachment. And what happens when we become humble like that? By their blessing, we can attain even greater attachment. But it is only dependent on the mercy of such a devotee. So, and the it is mentioned, the Radha Krishna is supremely happy. Radharani is 10 million times more happy than Krishna by seeing Krishna. by serving Krishna. And the gopis who serve Radha Krishna are 10 million times more happier than Radharani herself by serving Radharani in her service to Krishna. The Manjaris who assist these gopis, who assist Radha and Krishna, they experience a happiness unknown, the limits of which are unknown to Radha and Krishna. So the more one becomes a servant, begging for the mercy of the senior devotees, then the more one is blessed with unlimited happiness. So much so that Krishna wants to compete in that competition of service. He becomes a servant of his servant of the servant of the servant of the servant. Krishna wants to become the servant of that person so that he can experience even greater happiness. So in this way, there is a competition to become a servant. So here we can see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seeing the woman's eagerness very nicely. Bengali is also very nice. तार आरती देखी प्रभु कहिते लागिला एटो आरती जगन्नाथ मोरे नाही दिला एटो आरती जगन्नाथ मोरे नाही दिला. It's kind of lamenting. Lord Jagannath has not bestowed so much eagerness upon me. So much eagerness that you see, the lady, when she knew what she was doing, she quickly realized and she paid obeisances. That means she would never have done it knowingly. But so much was her eagerness to see Jagannath that she doesn't know what she was doing. Whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was conscious that this is Garuda Stambha and this is, I have to watch with some etiquette. There was some kind of external consciousness, whereas this woman is like a mad woman. Don't know what she was doing. Did not know what she was doing. The woman was so eager to see Lord Jagannath that she forgot she was offending the feet of a Vaishnava, and by climbing the column of Garuda, she also neglected to consider that by putting her foot on the shoulder of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are both grievous offenses that displeased the Supreme Lord and Vaishnavas. She was so eager to see Lord Jagannath, however, that she committed all these offenses obliviously. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised her eagerness. He regretted that Lord Jagannath had not bestowed such great eagerness upon him. Jagannathe avishto ihar tanu mana prane mor skandhe pad diyache taho nahi jane. She has fully absorbed her body, mind and life in Lord Jagannath. Therefore she was unaware that she was putting her foot on my shoulder. Aho bhagyavati vandi ihar pai ihar prasade oiche arti amar vahoy. Alas, how fortunate this woman is. I pray at her feet that she favor me with her great eagerness to see Lord Jagannath. That reminds me of these two verses. Paravatanyabhritasarasa datyuham sashukatitiribarhinam yah kolahalo viramate chiramatram bhringadhipe harikatham iva gayamane. When the king of bees hums in a high pitch, singing the glories of the Lord, there is a temporary lull in the noise of the pigeon, the cuckoo, the crane, the chakravaka, the swan, the parrot, the partridge, and the peacock. Such transcendental birds stop their own singing simply to hear the glories of the Lord. So they're envious of the position of the bumblebee, envious not in the malicious sense, but in a very, very respectful way. Oh, he could go much closer to Krishna. He was on the garland of Krishna. So he must have secrets that we do not know. We want to hear what Krishna said in a whisper to his friend. All of that we want to know. What is the fragrance of Krishna like? What is the... I don't even know. I can't even imagine what are the things that he would know, that the birds would be eager to know. So they did not consider the voice of the bumblebee very great, but they considered his message to be great. And it was so overwhelming that they found themselves to be subordinate, even though they had beautiful voices, melodious voices. And then the next verse, Mandara kunda kurabotpala champakarna punnaganaga parijataha gandherchite tulasika bharnena tasya yasmim stapah sumanaso bahumanayanti. Although flowering plants like Mandara, Kunda, Kurabaka, Utpala, Champaka, Arna, Punnaga, Nagakeshara, Bakula, Lily, and the Parijat are full of transcendental fragrance, they are still conscious of the austerities performed by Tulasi, for Tulasi is given special preference by the Lord, who garlands himself with Tulasi leaves. So the birds, being very, very melodious, were aware of the glory of the bee, the bumblebee. Although he was externally not very talented as them in their singing, seemingly. And similarly, the smell of these flowers is intoxicating, and yet, although Tulasi doesn't smell, it's also fragrant, she's also very fragrant, but these flowers are extremely fragrant. So, although they were blessed with such fragrance, more than even the Tulasi leaves, Tulasi plant, but they knew the position of Tulasi. So, they honored the Tulasi's position. So, in this way, there is a great respect and great adoration for great devotees, and it does not depend on their external talents. It does not. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the old woman, I mean, how can the old woman compare to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us how we should consider. If in the exuberance of ecstasy of Krishna Seva, if one accidentally offends another Vaishnava, especially if oneself becomes the object of the offense. If somebody suppose offends me while in their exuberance of service to Krishna, I should not be offended by that and taking away the entire credit of the extraordinary service or eagerness to serve Krishna in them. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching there. So this is one example of climbing on the shoulder of Krishna, I mean transgressing etiquette, Maryada Vyatikrama. Then there is another incident where in the Gambhira, again it was Govinda. Where is Antilila chapter 10? Okay. I have searched Govinda cross. You see, this is from the summary. So what happened? After Kirtan ended, he distributed prasadam to all the devotees and he also took some himself. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Where, as previously, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed the cleansing ceremony at Gundicha and chanted the famous verse Jagan Mohan Parimunda Yao. I don't know what is that. Maybe it is there in the chapter. Jagamohan Parimunda Yao. Jao. I don't know what that is. After Kirtan ended, he distributed prasadam to all the devotees and also took some himself. There he lay down. Then he lay down at the door of the Gambhira to take rest. Somehow or other, Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, crossed over the Lord's body and massaged his feet. Govinda could not go out that day, however, and therefore he was unable to accept prasadam. From the character of Govinda, it is to be learned that we may sometimes commit offenses for the service of the Lord, but not for sense gratification. Govinda induced the Lord to eat all the food delivered by the devotees. So, until 1082 onwards, okay. Okay, so this is where Gambhira, you can today also you can go and see Gambhira Lila, that place, that room where I do not know how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fit in that room. So anyway, गंभीरार द्वारे करेन आपने शयन गोविंद आसिया करे पाद संवाहन. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lay down at the door of the Gambhira. It's a personal resting quarters of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there. And Govinda came there to massage his legs. It's a very small room. सर्वकाल आछे ए सुदृढ़ नियम प्रभु जदि प्रसाद पाया करे न शयन गोविंद आसिया करे पाद संवाहन तबे जाए प्रभुर शेष करे न भोजन. It was a steady, long-standing rule that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would lie down to rest after lunch and Govinda would come to massage his legs. Then Govinda would honor the remnants of food left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. सब द्वारा जुड़ी प्रभु करया छेन शयन भीतरे जायते नारे गोविंद करे निवेदन. This time when the Lord lay down, he occupied the entire doorway. Govinda could not enter the room and therefore he made the following request. एक पाश हाओ मोरे देहो भीतर जायते प्रभु को है शक्ति नहीं अंग चालायते. Govinda said, kindly turn on one side, let me pass to enter the room. However, the Lord replied, I don't have the strength to move my body. I'm so tired, I'm so tired. But this is all a test. So when the Lord appears sick, like in the case of Jagannath after Snana Yatra, or the Lord is helpless, or the Lord is so-called, weak, feeling weak, we must immediately understand, or when the Lord has a headache, like in the case of that Narada story, there is some Leela going on. There is some Leela going on. So, however, the Lord replied, I don't have the strength to move my body. बार बार गोविंद को है एक दिक होते प्रभु को है अंगामी नारी चालायते. Govinda made his request again and again, but the Lord replied, I cannot move my body. गोविंद को है करिते चाहे पाद सम्माहन प्रभु को है करो वा ना करो जय लोहि तुम्हार मन. करो वा ना करो जय लोहि तुम्हार मन. Govinda repeatedly requested, I want to massage your legs. But the Lord said, do it or don't do it. It depends upon your mind. That's the thing. And this is not just an incidental thing. Krishna is eternally thinking in this way. Krishna always thinks about all of us in this way. Do it or don't do it, it depends upon your mind. So he leaves us with that independence to serve him or not. Even after explaining everything to Arjuna. इति ते ज्ञानमाख्यातं गुह्याद् गुह्यतरं मया विमृश्यैतद् अशेषेण यथेच्छसि तथा कुरु. Thus I have explained to you knowledge still more confidential. Deliberate on this fully and then do what you wish to do. So yathetchasi tatha kuru. Karo va na karo. Jai tomar man. So this is his blanket attitude towards us. He does not want to interfere with our independence, but he is hurt that we misuse our independence, and therefore he comes to enlighten us. If we are sane, then we should heed his advice and come back to him. But if we do not want to do so, then he's okay. He will wait. He will eagerly wait for the right time when you will accept him. He doesn't want to force you to accept him. That's not love, right? Love must be when I have a choice and I choose to love Krishna, and then yes, that is love, right? So then it is voluntary. Otherwise, it's forced slavery. Because there is service in slavery and there is service in love. People may give their lives. A slave may give his life to his master, but out of compulsion. A devotee may give his life to the Lord out of love. The Lord does not ask for it, but he gives it. That is love. So there is giving of life in both cases, but one is forced, one is. So in the first instance, the master is condemned if a slave dies in the service of the Lord. But when Jatayu died in the service of Ramachandra Bhagavan, Jatayu was glorified, Ram was glorified. So there is glory in the proper use of independence. There is glory in love of Godhead. So Vimrishaitad aseshena yathechase tatha kuro. Korovana koro jai tomar man. You see, in seemingly everyday incidences, there are such gems always to be found in these scriptures. तबे गोविंद बहिर्वास तार ऊपर दिया भीतर घरे गेला महाप्रभुर भीतर घरे गेला महाप्रभुरे लंघिया. Then Govinda spread the Lord's wrapper over his body and in this way entered the room by crossing over the Lord. So this crossing over, Langhiya, you can see this word. What? Layman. Cross, Langhe, cross. No, wait. Let me. 12. Here in this series, I think there is. Yes, Langhi. Chale. आचार्यर मत जय शई मत सार तार आज्ञा लंघी चले शैट asar. Langhi means transgress. So crossing over the body of the Lord is not only physically, literally Langhi, but principle wise also it is a transgression of principle, because you're not supposed to cross over somebody's body. That is a great disrespect. So Mahaprabhure Langhiya. पाद संवाहन कैलो कटि पृष्ठ चापिलो मधुर मर्दने प्रभुर परिश्रम गेलो. Govinda massaged the Lord's legs as usual. He pressed the Lord's waist and back very softly, and thus all the Lord's fatigue went away. Sukhe nidra hoilo prabhur Govinda chape anga danda doi bai prabhur hoila nidra bhanga. As Govinda stroked his body, the Lord slept very nicely for about 45 minutes, and then his sleep broke. गोविंदे देखिया प्रभु बोले क्रुद्ध होइया आज केने टक्षण आछिस वसिया. She's oh. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Govinda sitting by his side, he was somewhat angry. Why have you been sitting here for so long today? The Lord asked. Moronidra hoile kene nagela prasad khaite Govinda kahe dware shoila jaite nahi pathe. Why didn't you go to take your meal after I fell asleep? The Lord asked. Govinda replied, you were lying down, blocking the door, and there was nowhere to go. Prabhu kohe bhitare tabe aila ke mane toiche kene prasad laite na koila gamane. The Lord asked, how did you enter the room? Why didn't you go out to take your lunch in the same way? Govinda kohe mane amar seva se niyam aparadha hauka kivan narake gaman. Govinda mentally replied, my duty is to serve, even if I have to commit offenses or go to hell. See? Even if I have to commit offenses or go to hell, my duty is to serve. And here's a huge dynamic of Trinadapi Nichena, where while presenting Krishna conscious philosophy straightforwardly, we may offend many people by doing that. And that actually constitutes humility. To people, we may appear as full of pride and full of hubris, arrogance. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, I confess to that arrogance. I will not for a moment give up the instruction of my guru to accept the instruction of the worldly men. I confess to that such arrogance. So he says, that is actually not arrogance, that is humility. Arrogance is when I think that God's message is not enough, it is too harsh, I will give a better version of it. When I try to do that, immediately I'm not humble anymore. I'm not taking the Lord's instructions to be authoritative. I'm trying to mask it and put forward my own agenda instead of the Lord's. That is not humility. I may please the public. I may be known as a humble man in the eye of the public, but I'm not humble. That's not Trinadapi Nichena. It should serve the cause of the absolute truth and not go against it, not to subvert the absolute truth. Humility should serve the absolute truth, not subvert the absolute truth. So, and one more important, interesting thing is Govinda mentally replied. How would Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami know what Govinda mentally thought? Would that not be speculation? No. So just like Narad Muni, how did he know that Vyasadeva was not happy? Something was bothering him, and Narad Muni appeared to counsel his disciple. And then he wrote the Bhagavatam, right? So the pure devotees by the Lord's, because you see, we have to understand one thing. The Lord is the witness for everybody. Upadrashta Anumantacha. So he is the Upadrashta, so he sees everything. He sees our thoughts, words and deeds, whereas other people can see our deeds and words but not our thoughts, really. Sometimes our expressions may convey our thoughts, but that is only an inference, a guess, rather than an actual knowing per se. But Krishna can know, and Krishna can transfer that knowledge to someone who may empower somebody with that knowledge for his own mission. So what somebody thought, a pure devotee can know. Krishna can dictate that to the pure devotee that this is what happened. And that would not be in the realm of speculation, even though it is written like that. Mentally replied. Classic example, we recently did that, 1082-48 verse of the gopis replying to Krishna after Krishna gave a lecture to the gopis at Kurukshetra. And everybody kind of, oh, great instructions. They were great instructions, but he was actually playing with the gopis at the same time, while he was very stately in nature and very serious in those instructions and speaking absolutely lofty philosophy. He was actually playing with the gopis internally. We would never have known that had it not been for Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's. I mean, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he revealed that in the Madhya Lila as we saw it. But also, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in the purports of those verses, when Krishna was speaking, 6 verses, I think 41 to 46, I think he spoke 1082, 41 through 46. So Krishna spoke, consoling the gopis. But then gopis had a reply to that in their minds, although that was not recorded in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this, did Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur kind of interpolate and put something else in his own imagination? It is not imagination. We should know that if we, people like us, do such a thing, that is an imagination. But an acharya like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who is inspired by Krishna, just like Baladev Vidyabhushan, Govinda Bhashya, he wrote on the Vedanta Sutra, Govinda deity, Govinda Dev, Rupa Goswami's Govinda Dev deity, dictated the Vedanta Sutra commentary, and Baladev Vidyabhushan wrote it. So similarly, he can inspire Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur to write those conversations which were not recorded in the Bhagavatam, but which add such great flavor to the whole conversation and reveal a totally different side of the conversation which we would be unaware of. And we should know that in the end of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, what I have described about the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is but just a drop in the ocean. There is so much more to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, which Anantadev can go on and he will never finish. So Lord Ananta is always glorifying the Lord, and he is never coming to an end. In the heavenly planets, it is 1 billion verses, the entire Vedic literature. Here it is so less. What happened to that remaining verses? Just like the Kurma Puran verse, where Maya Sita is there. That is not in the Ramayana, but in somewhere hiding in the Kurma Puran, a secret of Ramayana. A huge, massive secret of Ramayana. Without that, we would never know that whole angle of it, of Maya Sita or Chaya Sita. So, things like this, I mean, their knowledge is so much vast, and Sankshepa, just a summary is given to us to an extent which we can grasp. But when devotees know, that's why in the what is that, Brahma Vaivarta Puran, we have quoted that in the Why Worship Only Krishna book. Let me read that. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Yeah, 4, 5, 11. This is a very important verse. Not verse, it's a statement. It's not exactly a verse. Asya mahato bhutasya nishvasitam Asya mahato bhutasya nishvasitam etad yad rigvedo yajurvedah samavedo atharva angirasa itihasaha puranam vidya upanishadah shlokaah sutrani anuvyakyanani Vyakhyananishtam. This is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 4, 5, 11. The Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda, the Vedic histories such as Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Puranas, the transcendental knowledge of the Upanishads, the various verses, the aphorisms or sutras, such as those contained in the Vedanta Sutra, Narada Bhakti Sutra, etc., their authoritative elucidations and commentaries have all emanated from the breath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even the elucidations and commentaries on these topics by various acharyas, not various, any acharya, by the authorized acharyas. So they are also from the breathing of the Lord. So Govinda Bhashya is the breathing of the Lord, Ramanujacharya's Sri Bhashya is breathing of the Lord, Prabhupada's purports are breathing of the Lord. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's interpolations are breathing of the Lord. So, you have to understand that. So, Govinda mentally replied, my duty is to serve even if I have to go, even if I have to commit offenses or go to hell. सेवा लागी कोटि अपराधन सेवा लागी कोटि अपराध नाही गणी स्वनिमित्त अपराध भासे भय मानी स्वनिमित्त अपराध भासे भय मानी. See, this is very important. I would not mind committing hundreds and thousands of offenses for the service of the Lord, but I greatly fear committing even a glimpse of an offense for my own self. Very, very important point. Very important point. And it requires deep contemplation on this point at every moment. Because sometimes it also happens that I may commit an offense in the name of Krishna Bhakti, but actually my own ambition, my own desires, material desires are being served in the garb of service. While externally I may engage in service, but I may have a different, puja, pratishtha, labha, and all of this, rajasic, tamasic, or even sattvic bhakti, which is not shuddha bhakti. So I may have a glimpse of these things and I may mask it under the service and I may commit offense in that way. So I should always be very mindful whether I'm actually doing it for service or not. Very important. So, eta shaba mane kare Govinda rahila Prabhu je puchila tar uttara na dila. Thinking in this way, Govinda kept silent. He did not reply to the Lord's inquiry. Pratyah prabhur nidraye jana prasad layete she divaser shrama dekhila gila chapite. It was Govinda's practice to go take lunch when the Lord was asleep. On that day, however, seeing the Lord's weariness, Govinda continued massaging his body. Jaite ho patha nahi jaibe ke mone maha aparadh hoy prabhur langhane. There was no way to go. How could he leave? When he thought of crossing over the Lord's body, he considered it a great offense. Ei shab hoy bhakti shastra sukshma marma Chaitanya kripaya jane ei shab dharma. This is so important. So important. These are some of the finer points of etiquette in devotional service. Only one who has received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand these principles. Bhakti Shastra Sukshma Marma Chaitanya Kripaya Jane Ei Sab Dharma. That's why this Niyama Agraha, Prabhupada mentioned here, you see in the purport, karmis or fruitive workers cannot understand the finer conclusions of devotional service because they accept only its ritualistic value but do not understand how devotional service satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur always considered and urged his disciples also to consider every one of their actions against the test, the litmus test, Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. That sutra he always used, Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Hari has to be pleased. That is the perfection of whatever I am doing, even if it is, albeit offensive to people sometimes, Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Is it pleasing Krishna? I have to preach his message as it is. I cannot mask it. So we should always consider Samsiddhir Haritoshanam or Samsiddhir Mamatoshanam. If Mamatoshanam, that is not Samsiddhir. It is perfectly, it attains perfection. Any action of ours attains perfection if Krishna is satisfied. So, niyama agraha means to not follow rules. That is one side of niyama agraha, which is like being lax in following the rules. But the other side of it is niyama agraha. That means to follow the rules to an extent that we lose the spirit of the rule. And sometimes rules can be broken for the service of the Lord, like sannyasi should not cross the ocean. Prabhupada crossed the ocean to serve the Lord. For our own, you see, if I cross the ocean, I may be influenced by Western or other Mlecha culture, and I may fall down. So, for my protection, it is advised I should not. But for the service of the Lord, I can langhia, I can cross, I can transgress that instruction for a higher purpose. So, how to apply this when it is satisfactory to Hari and when it is not satisfactory to Hari? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. If there is order of the spiritual master, in pursuance of fulfillment of that order, one can do things which are otherwise not supposed to be done, either by moral standpoints or by scriptural standpoint. But not that it's not a carte blanche that everything we can do. Oh, for the service of Prabhupada, I will go and steal now. I will rob banks. I will rob houses. No, no, I'm doing it for Prabhupada. Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. No, no, no. We cannot speculate on these things. What is required? At one point, uh, the devotees wanted to were wondering how to distribute books in Russia, because at that time the USSR was a Soviet Union and there was an iron curtain. Sorry, curtain means not a physical curtain, but it's like you cannot pass, you cannot go into USSR. So heavily communist and exclusionist and xenophobic. That means anything foreign, they are against that. So it was difficult, but Prabhupada even sanctioned to smuggle books into Russia, to USSR. So that's a transgression, a huge transgression, right? But for a good cause, to help them. He was so desperate to help the suffering population in Russia because of a lack of Krishna consciousness, not just because of, oh, they are under communists. No. Every materialist, every person in the material world is suffering. And out of immense compassion, he ordered his disciples, he suggested to his disciples that why don't you smuggle the books into Russia? So the devotees actually did that. When the ships were passing by from the bridge, on top of the bridge, they threw the bags, the bags of books onto the ship, and it went into Russia. Weird, crazy things they did. So this is immense compassion. How can they be left without having this message? Somehow or other, get it there. They have to be saved. All these rules are secondary. Of course, it doesn't mean that we can do whatever we like in any country to break all the rules because I'm merciful. Again, how to apply this, how to do this, the finer points, how to balance what is permissible, what is beyond, what is not, what would jeopardize the movement and what would not. So we should also calculate not just the immediate thing, but the long term. We should sustain the preaching of Krishna consciousness. So in this way, there are things to consider, but we should never compromise with we should never compromise with the philosophy and the execution of it also. So Krishna will give us intelligence. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadam buddhiyogam tam yenamam upayanti. Krishna will give us intelligence so long as we are dedicated to the order of the spiritual master. So going back, oh, I came all the way here. Okay, 1000. Until 1000 is where I was. See, Bhakta Guna Prakashite Prabhu Bada Rangi, Eshav Prakashite Koilaita Bhangi. The Lord is very interested in manifesting the exalted qualities of his devotees, and that is why he engineered this incident. Engineered. Rangi. He devised it. Very interested. Badarangi. Prakashite, manifest, sorry. Prakashite, manifested. Okay, so now we will go back all the way. We hardly made any progress in that chapter, as usual. Not as usual, but yeah, went into a huge rabbit hole there. So coming back, so today's this is the beginning of the reading. How long have we spent? About an hour, maybe. So now we will begin at today's continuing this chapter. For some days at Sri Puruṣottama-kṣetra, which is the Gaudiya Math in Jagannath Puri, he names it like that. In Puruṣottama-kṣetra, he called it Puruṣottama-kṣetra. In Mayapur, he called it Chaitanya Math, Sri Chaitanya Math. And like that, he gave different names in different places according to the Leela and importance of that place. For some days at Puruṣottama-kṣetra, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur elaborately extolled the glories of Gadadhar Pandit, Srila Gadadhar Pandit, describing how in Puri he had recited the Srimad Bhagavatam to Lord Chaitanya and his associates, and declaring, "We are in the shelter of Sri Gadadhar Pandit, Srila Gadadhar Pandit." Hence, a Bhagavat asana or Bhagavata khanda should be established at Sri Puruṣottama for continuous recitation and hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. So you see, all the activities he is thinking of according to the pastimes. That's how he operated usually. So that we always are conscious, not just staying physically in the place, but also remembering, facilitating through service. So you see, he established a service of continuous recitation and hearing of Bhagavatam, and through that service, he wants to remember Smarana of the original pastime of Gadadhar Pandit reciting the Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's why it is said in the beginning of this chapter, if you remember, one second, I do not know. 439, right? Okay, we'll come back to here. So you see, yeah, you see, to savor those pastimes through service of the Lord. This is so important. To savor those pastimes through service to the Lord. So to relish those pastimes of Krishna through service. Okay, this pastime happened, and accordingly we will establish this service so that that pastime can always be in mind with this service. So in that way, the service itself is remembrance of the Lord, but it is connected to the actual pastimes that happened in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time. So that was his double remembrance of the Lord. Or there is a system in which he enabled double remembrance of the Lord to all his disciples and anybody who came there. Everything had a reason why they did this, why they did that. Not simply, oh, he wanted Bhagavatam to be chanted, so he just thought, okay, let's have Bhagavad Asana. There was a particular reason. Yes, Bhagavad Asana by itself is also glorious. Even if he just thought, okay, we'll have a Bhagavad Asana and then Bhagavad chanting will go on. But that itself is glorious, but it's also reminiscing the original pastime of Gadadhar Pandit. In fact, that was the original inspiration to establish this service. In fact, so that's how again. The subject of this episode is the pure vision of Puruṣottama-kṣetra. The pure vision. This is how he manifested it in his own pastimes. So going back, where were we? Yes. For this reason, the devotees' residential quarters are being built on land facing Bodhayan Kutir. Now let such hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam begin. He also said, quote, in front of Sri Puruṣottama Mutt is a large garden wherein fruit, flowers, and vegetables are produced in service to Hari Guru Vaishnavas. Sri Jadumani labors tirelessly here. This garden should be named Ananda Bagh, for just by seeing it, the pleasure of devotees increases, or Jadumani Bagh, because here Jadumani expresses his love for Sri Hari. So, what is this Jadumani? Bagh is a garden. Okay, that's understood. Going back. Where is it? Jadumani. Jadumani. So let's see if we can find something in the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Jadumani. There's nothing. Or nothing. Yadumani also nothing. So I do not exactly know what is Jadumani. Sri Jadumani labors tirelessly here. Is it Krishna, who's Yadumani, who's the jewel of the Yadu dynasty? Or is it some devotee with the name Jadumani? I do not know. But anyway, so that is the that is how he named even the garden. Again, to serve Krishna, but also maybe Jadumani is a caretaker. I don't know what exactly is the. I don't know if I remember anything about this Jadumani Bagh. Okay, so reading on another day, he observed. After the departure of Mahaprabhu and his associates, two great misunderstandings caused havoc in the dissemination of his movement in Orissa. One, that his teachings had caused emasculation of the royal family of Orissa, leading to their subsequent kowtowing to Muslim invaders, and also the comments of some scholars and professors who subscribed to the judgment of opulence, which simply indicated the deep ignorance of Srimati Radharani's mood of sweet service as topmost. Yet, exactly as a devastating storm is followed by calm, eventually Orissa will be relieved by the soothing moon of Lord Chaitanya when his instructions are again preached in an authorized manner. In accordance with the utterance Utkale Puruṣottamat, not only Orissa but the whole world will be blessed with the teachings and sweetness of Puruṣottama Shri Krishna. So this is what he said. So what is this actually? So the emasculation of the royal family of Orissa, leading to their subsequent kowtowing to Muslim invaders. So after Mahaprabhu's departure, because Prataprudra, he was a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and there was a misunderstanding apparently, according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that because Prataprudra became overly devotional, he lost his emasculation. Means masculinity means the manly, like Klaibyam Masmagamaha Partha. Krishna said to Arjuna, why are you behaving like a eunuch, like a man who has lost his potency, who has lost his testosterone? You're behaving like a woman, so afraid and timid, and what is all this? Got to be brave, got to fight. Why are you kind of running away from the battlefield? He kind of teased him, but he was also hinting at a spiritual weakness of the heart, because it is a spiritual weakness. But he masked it as if it's like just a Kshatriya teasing another Kshatriya. Hey, be a man, how can you be like a eunuch? A transvestite. So he said, this misunderstanding is that because Prataprudra became overly devotional, and for a karmi, a devotee is like sentimental because he has a lot of feelings, sometimes cries, and sometimes. So this is like not manly, and the heroic nature was kind of subdued because of this bhakti movement. and eventually they became soft and sentimental, and they wanted to be non-violent and stuff, and therefore eventually they kowtowed to the Muslim invaders. They kind of gave in easily. That was one of the misconceptions, which was not the fact. But the nature of this world is that they will always blame Krishna consciousness for everything. They will blame Krishna and Krishna consciousness for everything. So this was one of the misunderstandings on the people. And then the comments of some scholars and professors who subscribed to the judgment of opulence, which simply indicated the deep ignorance of Srimati Radharani's mood of sweet service as topmost. So, opulence in Dwarka is a fact. I mean, there is Madhurya Kadambini, Aishwarya Kadambini. There are two books that, again, focusing on the sweetness and the opulence. So in the Dwaraka, Krishna's pastimes are bedecked with so much opulence, royal opulence, unmatched, even unmatched in the heavenly planets. Such opulence was there in Dwaraka. And in contrast, in Vrindavan, there was complete lack of opulence. In fact, we have gone through that whole mood of how Ratha Ghoda, Hathi, that verse is there, where Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani is saying, oh, you are now here surrounded by all these elephants and horses and big commanders and big ministers and stuff. I want you back in Vrindavan, sweet, like just with your flute under the Kadamba tree and dancing. I want that sweet atmosphere. I don't want this opulence. And that is much higher than Krishna's leelas with opulence. Like, okay, just a crude example. A person who is opulently known, who's known in opulence, say a rich businessman or whatever it is, a cricketer or football, whatever, he has a certain aura about him, right? Oh, he's a big man, he's this and that, and anybody who meets him, they respect him and all of that. But they will not know him very intimately. But his own children or his own family members, the ones closest to him, the friend, the wife of that gentleman, so they will know him very, very intimately. And there he can allow himself to joke and all of that. Well, that is possible with the queens of Dwaraka in Dwaraka, but still there is an even greater sweetness when the opulence is all stripped off and just Krishna in his complete fullness and unbridled fullness. Opulence kind of inhibits his full glory to be witnessed. So eventually, I mean, we usually consider that opulence adds to a certain person. Like if a woman is wearing gold and everything, it adds to her beauty. Makeup adds to her beauty. The very word makeup is, I feel, an insulting word because it is kind of making up for your lost beauty. So you're not beautiful, so you're kind of making up for that by putting something. It's literally that, but it's considered a good thing, a luxury, or this and that, whatever. So it kind of makes up for the lack of aura. The opulence kind of makes up for the lack of aura, and the makeup, the literal makeup, is a kind of makes up for the lack of beauty or whatever. But devotees, especially in Sakhya, pure Sakhya, devoid of opulence, there is Sakhya with opulence as well. Like Arjuna's Sakhya with Krishna is different from Subala's Sakhya with Krishna. Subala or Madhumangal, in Vrindavan, their Sakhya with Krishna is much more, even freer than even Arjuna and Uddhava. Their friendship is kind of mixed with opulence. But the Vrindavan mood with the sweetness, that is has its own charm. If if an opulent gold kind of necklace or gold, all these things are covering Krishna's body, in an ordinary sense, that would be very nice. Oh, this gold, gold, gold. But the Vrindavan Vasis, they think that it is covering Krishna's body. I want to see Krishna's body fully. So Krishna in the beginning, in his Kaumara days, he was running around naked. And so much bliss it gave to all the residents of Vrindavan. So they don't want him with covered by all this opulence. It kind of inhibits the pure vision of Krishna. They want him just without any of these things. So apparently there were some people who were saying that Krishna worship should be done with opulence, and yes, it has to be done. In the especially Vaidhi Bhakti, we have to also kind of do that. But you see, even though we try to opulently dress Krishna, but we dress Krishna opulently with flowers and not so much with gold. That is not our mood. With exquisite jewels and all, we don't dress like that, in our movement at least. There are some temples who dress Krishna with opulence, with a lot of jewels and this and that. And it's more prominent in Sri Sampradaya, where Aishwarya presides. Whereas in our Sampradaya, Madhurya presides. So even though we exquisitely dress the deities, and even though Srila Prabhupada said, we are technically worshipping Lakshmi Narayan, not exactly Radha Krishna, because Radha Krishna worship is only possible for liberated souls. Although we do serve the deities of Radha and Krishna, but we are worshipping them like Lakshmi Narayan, but not exactly Lakshmi Narayan as well. The rules and regulations apply to Lakshmi Narayan worship. Radha Krishna worship is above all rules. But still, we worship Radha Krishna deities with rules. But also, although we worship with rules, we still worship them in the moods that they would like to be, like with flowers and all the natural things. Yes, there is a little bit of jewels as well. There are jewels in the Vrindavan. Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha. Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanastho. Srimad Radha Srila Govinda. What is Ratnagara Simhasanastho? Jewel throne. So there are jewels in Vrindavan. It's not there. But that's not the predominance. These opulent things won't predominate. The natural beauty predominates. And that is even more sweeter. More sweeter. So there was this. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, as a devastating storm is followed by calm, so this he considered a devastating storm. The havoc that was caused in the dissemination of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement by these misunderstandings, that the royal family lost its masculinity and were emasculated, and another one is this opulence over sweetness argument. It's also coming from there, because the royal family is supposed to be opulent and the opulence should preside, and Dwarka, Jagannath Puri is like in the mood of Dwarka, where Krishna, Balram and Subhadra are there in Dwarka. In Vrindavan, Subhadra, Balram and Krishna are there, not exactly Subhadra. So that mood is different. So Dwarka's mood kind of coincides with Dwarka's mood. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu resided there and exhibited Vipralambha. Although he is in Dwarka place, Jagannath Puri, but in the mood of calling him back to Vrindavan. So that is a very interesting dynamic, where the Madhurya is elevated even more in Vipralambha in the place of Aishwarya. Therefore, as I said in one of the previous episodes, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, only fools consider Vrindavan to be the most auspicious place in the universe. The most auspicious place is actually Kurukshetra. Because in Kurukshetra, the gopis were in separation and they were in most need of service. Um, they were so afflicted by separation and impending separation, and the eagerness with which they were wanting to call him back to Vrindavan. So that is intensified in Kurukshetra, and therefore that is very that is even sweeter. So this interesting dynamic where the gopis' love was even greaterly manifested in Kurukshetra than in Vrindavan, but because they wanted him to bring him back to Vrindavan. So that interesting dynamic makes it very significant for our Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Jagannath Puri is so significant for us, this Puruṣottama-kṣetra, because it adds all these layers of Madhurya Ras into that one place, and that is the bhava that is the exact bhava of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this was disturbed by these misconceptions. Now again the calm has been restored after the storm by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's preaching again of the original principles of devotion. And Utkale Purushottamat, like that first verse in the beginning of the book, where all the Vaishnavism will spread all over the world, Kshitipavanaha, it will purify the entire earth, but it will start from Puruṣottama-kṣetra. And this is what he meant, that in accordance with the utterance Utkale Purushottamat, not only Orissa but the whole world will be blessed with the teachings and sweetness of Puruṣottam Sri Krishna, as revealed by Prema Puruṣottam Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so this verse is quoted Madhya 14.219. The opulence, the natural opulence of Vrindavan is just like an ocean. The opulence of Dwarka and Vaikuntha is not even to be compared to a drop. So it's very interesting. The opulence kind of inhibits the real opulence of sweetness. So we will come back to that. So reading on, when staying at Puri, Srila Saraswati Thakur frequently went in Sankirtan procession for darshan of Tota Gopinath, with the devotees singing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Vijñapti, an earnest supplication to Gopinath. You know that song? Gopinath mama nivedana suno Vishayi durjana sada kamarata Kichu nahi mora guna Gopinath. So 3 songs are there. It's not that is just one song of 8 stanzas, but there are 3 such songs. Vijñapti. So again, the deity was Gopinath, and the Gopinath song he sang. So in this way, he always connected it with the previous acharya's teachings and the moods of the place. He always wanted to elicit the remembrance of those pastimes through the service, through the songs, through the deity that is there, how to remember, and so everything he did it like that. So Tota Gopinath, if we ever visit, we should sing those songs, the 3 songs of Gopinath by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Vijñapti 1, 2 and 3. All that we have to sing at Tota Gopinath. So then he says, Gopinath is our most beloved deity, Srila Saraswati Thakur would say. And he would instruct the devotees of Sri Puruṣottama to regularly bring, but especially on Ekadashi and festival days, to Tota Gopinath and also to Radhakanta Math, Mahaprabhu's residence in Puri. Oh wow, I did not know this. Radhakanta Math. Okay. Well, I don't know if I've ever heard of this at all. Mahaprabhu's residence in Puri. Is that the... I don't know. I need to find out. So he wanted that he instructed the devotees in Puruṣottama to regularly bring, but especially on Ekadashi and festival days, to Tota Gopinath also to Radhakanta Math, Mahaprabhu's residence in Puri, a plate or basket with items such as uncooked rice and dal, ghee, vegetables and flowers, and a donation of around 10 rupees. So he wanted this to be regularly done. And 10 rupees in those days is a lot. Of course, nothing compared to what money he would have. He had his own mission, but also give this to them. Radhakant Mutt, also known as the Gambhira or Kashi Mishra's house. Oh, okay. Radhakant Mutt. Interesting. Gambhira. So, after having accepted sannyas, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati usually attended Rath Yatra in Puri, and many disciples would join him. Following the example of Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati would decamp to Alalnath during the 15-day period termed Anavasara, when Lord Jagannath enacts the pastime of becoming sick and is not available for public darshan, which ends on the day before Rath Yatra. At the time of Anavasara, they would walk the 14 miles to and from Alalnath, continuously performing kirtan. 14 miles. 14 miles is about 23 kilometers, maybe, around the distance of Govardhan Parikrama, around about that. So, an important thing to notice here is that after accepting sannyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur usually attended Rath Yatra in Puri every year, and many disciples would join him. So, the difference here from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to Prabhupada is that Prabhupada thought of bringing the Rath Yatra beyond. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur never had a Rath Yatra festival outside of Jagannath Puri. I am not sure if he even had Jagannath deities anywhere else. But Prabhupada is very, very unique in this. And in fact, when he was in America, some disciple found Jagannath deity somewhere and then brought, and then he thought it very great mercy of Jagannath that he has come. And then what Prabhupada did in his childhood, he used to have a neighborhood Rath Yatra for children. He and his friends would have the Rath Yatra, and his father would arrange for all the festival. So similarly, that he brought to the whole world. It's very, very unique of what Prabhupada has brought to the world, this Rath Yatra festival. So, reading on. Also, as Mahaprabhu had done, Srila Saraswati Thakur would lead his followers in cleaning the Gundicha temple. On the day of Gundicha Marjan in 1934, Srila Saraswati Thakur cited from Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Rathecha Vamanam Drishtva Punarjanmana Vidyate. Interesting. This is actually very interesting. So, one who sees the Lord on his chariot is not reborn. This is from Brahma Vaivarta Purana. And then explained that the desire for moksha was not the Gaudiya's motive in attending Rath Yatra. Although this verse is there in the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, this is not the motive for Gaudiyas in attending Rath Yatra, not to get Punarjanmana Vidyate or get moksha. Their connection with Lord Jagannath is solely through selfless service. Solely through selfless service. And their intention is to take him to Gundicha, which is synonymous with their hearts, and keep him there to serve him in the best possible manner. So, very interesting. The gopis, we have read that extensively, the mood of Puruṣottama-kṣetra, the glory of Puruṣottama-kṣetra. The 1080 to 48 and the Chaitanya Charitamrita verses of 13th chapter of Madhya Lila, 137 to 147, all those, the mood of the gopis, which is revealed there, that is to bring him back to Vrindavan. And Gundicha Mandir is synonymous with their hearts. That means we have to invite Jagannath to our heart. We are pulling Lord Jagannath to Gundicha, our heart. In fact, in Telugu, the heart means Gunde. Gunde. So Gunde means heart. So I don't know if there is any connection at all, but this is not. This is, but it is in Telugu like that. So anyway, Gundicha is synonymous with the heart, the Gundicha Mandir. So our heart should be cleansed, and the whole Gundicha Marjan Leela itself is very instructive. They did not only collect dust and throw it out, but they cleaned the outside also. Outside of the temple, the streets, everything was cleaned or cleansed very nicely. That means so as not to allow the dust to come back again. So even the outside of the temple was clean very nicely. So that means our heart must be cleansed, and we should not allow dust to come back into our hearts by cleaning our surroundings as well. Just we being cleansed is not enough. We have to surrounding us, all our the devotees around us, everybody should be also cleansed so that I will be in good company to protect myself. I should preach to them to protect myself so that if they become good devotees, I will be in good company. So that will protect me from falling down. If I have no devotee association, that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, although he said it humbly. But he revealed to us how a preacher should think. He said, my Guru Maharaj asked me, that means Gaur Kishodas Babaji. So he said, my Guru Maharaj asked me to never leave the company of devotees. So therefore I came here to make devotees so that I would never leave their company. So you see, so the making of devotees also for our own protection. So that I can be in association of devotees and be protected. And my heart can be protected from materialistic desires. If I'm alone, nobody is watching me, Krishna is watching me, but if I lose that faith and I may engage in materialistic pursuits, then that's not good for me. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is not there. He is way above that temptations of the material world. But he's teaching us how we have to preach, because we are not on that stage. We can easily be victimized by Maya, and therefore we should cleanse even the outskirts of the temples and outside and the streets also. Everything has to be cleansed so that the dust won't come back. So a great deal of care must be taken to protect our devotion and cleanse our heart. Mama mane mandire raho nishi din. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung. So how can the Lord stay if the place is dirty like hell? So therefore we have to clean it. So that is the real meaning of Jagannath, and we are not here for punarjanmana vidyate. Mama janmani janmanishware ahaytuki bhakti. Mama janmani janmanishware. Why do I always forget this when I'm chanting? Mama janmani. Bhavatad, yes. Bhavatad means of yours. Bhavatad bhakti rahaytuki tvai. So, Bhavatad, let there be, Let there be Bhavatad. So, Bhavatad bhakti rahaytuki tvai. Mama janmani janmanishware. I'm not interested in even going back. Punarjanmana vidyate, I'm not for that. Of course, that will be given by Krishna, but that should not be the motive. If Krishna gives, that's another thing. And a very interesting letter, I think one of our devotees shared in the groups, that Prabhupada made a very interesting point in a letter in 1968, where he said Arjuna is not there in the spiritual world. He's not there in the spiritual world. Although Krishna said to Arjuna, you will never come back here, But actually, he apparently never is there in the spiritual world at all. He's only there in the material world. So Krishna's Nitya Leela is going on in the material world, and Arjuna serves him eternally in the material world, apparently. Very interesting. So such things also happen. But that does not mean that how come then he is condemned? That means all the time he's in the material. No, he's never in the material world. He's always in the spiritual world. Although he's always in the material world. So this is the thing. But to understand, as long as we are serving Krishna, we are with Krishna and we are not in the material world. Vishwam Purna Sukhayate, although it is Dukhalayam Ashashvatam. So that is a devotee's position. So there are things about Krishna that we can almost never, not almost, we can never fathom. Whatever we know or we think we know is only a very, very short, small glimpse of his unlimited ways in which he conducts himself. We cannot know everything. Whatever simplistic descriptions are given is for our general understanding, but there are so many intricacies of Krishna's activities and his energies and his pastimes that we can never understand. That's why Lord Ananta is glorifying for unlimited number of time, length of time, and still is unable to finish. Why do you think Ananta is with his thousands of mouths unable to finish? Because there are such things. It's not an exaggeration. There are such qualities to Krishna. So, reading on, and one year at Balagandi, where Jagannath halts before proceeding to Gundicha, Srila Saraswati Thakur told his assembled followers that only devotees are qualified to pull the rope of Jagannath's chariot. Non-devotees who desire liberation by thus participating should not pull it. That does not mean he stopped all the non-devotees from pulling it, but he said the devotees are the real persons who can really live the pastime of the Rath Yatra as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did it, and they can understand the essence of Rath Yatra. Whereas all these Brahmavaivarta Puran, even like Janma, Punarjanmana Vidyate, these statements are only to attract those people who are non-devotees, although that is the case. But devotees really understand. And the other hidden instruction in that is, while he said non-devotees who desire liberation by thus participating should not pull it, the idea is that non-devotees should be made to, or they should be educated to the higher principle where they should understand that pulling of this rath is not for liberation or anything, but to just invite Krishna into our heart. So, reading on. Whenever Srila Saraswati Thakur departed from Puri, usually to go to Calcutta, he would recite a refrain by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, Nijanikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam, expressing hankering to reside near Govardhana and indicating his own imminent separation from Govardhan manifested in Puri as Chatak Parvat. He's always, you see how meditative he is. So this is how Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. Let's see a translation of this verse in volume 1, page 117. Okay, let's try to go there. Oh. Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. I want to see the full thing. Pratyasham Govardhan Vasa Prarthana Dashakam by Raghunath Das Goswami. Nijanikata Nivasam. Not this, right? What were we? I don't know how to. Oh, yeah. On tour. It's Puri, 1918. This is where we were. Right? No. No. This is not the one. Where were we? because these links, I knew I would miss out because the page links were going. This is not very well. This we have finished already. Wait. I know. I think page 440 was page. Oh. Sorry. You know, sometimes this technology is a little bit irritating. Just give me a second. I will. Where was I? On tour. Dham Seva. Pastimes in Puruṣottama-kṣetra. Oh, this is the one. Oh, yeah. Okay. That was correct. Pastimes in Jagannath. That was the one. Pastimes in Puruṣottama-kṣetra. Okay, so this is actually correct. Okay, sorry for the delay. Nijanikatani dehi govardhanatvam. I think I found that here in the songs app. Nijanikatani. Yes. Okay. So this song has Dashakam. It's a Nijapati Bhuja. 10 verses and also Phalashruti. And the last line of each of these verses is Nija Nikata Nivasam Dehi Govardhanatvam. So that is the refrain. And he chanted the refrain. But there's this beautiful song glorifying Govardhan Hill. So he was remembering Govardhan Hill as he was moving out of Jagannath Puri, where at Chatak Parvat his Puruṣottam Mutt is there, and he was feeling separation from Govardhan. Chatak Parvat meaning, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought the Chatak Parvat was Govardhan Hill. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur considered Chatak Parvat to be non-different from Govardhan because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought it to be so. So he felt separation from Govardhan. So in this way, he was thinking, this is a pure vision of, again, Puruṣottama-kṣetra, the non-difference of Jagannath Puri with Vrindavan and Dwaraka at the same time, and the separation, the Vipralambha. That's why it's called Vipralambha-kṣetra. Lord was reciting 10, 21, 18. Okay, we'll go to that later. We'll read on. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had gained a reputation of being ghost-proof. So wherever he went, malefic spirits could not remain. Like waterproof, he was ghost-proof. There was no ghost cannot come near him. So he and his disciples had several times rented cheaply or purchased at a bargain rate buildings deemed uninhabitable due to infestation by spirits. And in each case, his personal influence and kirtan had driven out all inauspicious elements. The Zamindar Sri Nafar Chandrapal Chaudhary owned a house in Puri so terrorized by a fierce Brahma Rakshasa that at night people were afraid to go near it. After Srila Bhaktivinod's disappearance, Nafar Babu locked the building and used it only for a fortnight each year at the time of Rath Yatra. He had tried to rent the property, but even brave persons who attempted to stay there would inevitably quickly vacate. When Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur once came to Puri, Nafar Babu petitioned him, "If you grace my house with the dust of your lotus feet, surely the ghost will leave." Followed by his associates, Srila Saraswati Thakur went there, sat down, and began lecturing on Srimad Bhagavatam. After the recitation was finished, before everyone's eyes, a clay jug full of water manifested in the air, dropped to the ground, and shattered in front of Srila Saraswati Thakur. As soon as the water touched his feet, there was a boom, and the ghostly presence immediately departed. The spirit had entered the water to touch Srila Saraswati Thakur's lotus feet, and upon doing so, he was redeemed from his offenses and freed from disembodied existence. Formerly, he had been a reclusive Babaji who often blasphemed pure devotees and thus was forced to undergo such horrible punishment. Very interesting, right? So, he was a Babaji who blasphemed pure devotees and he became this ghost. And now he touched the feet. The spirit had entered the water to touch Srila Saraswati Thakur's lotus feet. And upon doing this, he became. What a beautiful story. In fact, there are many such ghost stories from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but apparently, I think this is what is mentioned here. Right? You see, several other ghost stories in circulation concerning Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were deliberately not included in this book because it will greatly, increase the volume of the book. But there were many such stories. So, reading on. One time, upon seeing a Naliya at the seashore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur commented, "We are Naliyas. The ocean of material existence is much greater than the sea we are now perceiving. Naliyas rescue persons drowning in the sea, whereas we pull people out of the ocean of material suffering." So, the lifeguard, Naliya, I think, is a lifeguard. So the lifeguards, they rescue persons drowning in the sea. So we are actually Naliyas. He's saying like that. We pull people out of the ocean of material suffering. One day, while bathing in the sea, Sri Kirtananda Brahmachari was carried out by strong waves but was saved by a Naliya. On returning to Sri Puruṣottama-Math, he related the incident to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who responded gravely, "You are in the Bhavasagar. If you are sincere, then just as the Naliya has saved you today, Sri Gurudev will deliver you from the flux and reflux of worldly life." He then asked, "Why did you go to bathe in the sea? Why waste time?" Kirtananda replied, "Well, that's why we come to Puri, for bathing in the sea." Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "That is another kind of personal enjoyment. Just being in Puri Dham is sufficient. The sea at Puri is certainly a Mahatirtha, but bathing in it is not necessary. You can honor it simply by sprinkling some water on your head." So you see, this was his thing. Okay, you can, and he wrote sardonically. What is sardonically? Let's see. Grimly mocking or cynical, showing that you think you are better than other people and not taking others seriously. Grimly mocking. Today, on the occasion of a solar eclipse, 2 of our devotees dipped in the ocean and earned punya. But unlike them, we were deprived of earning such piety. Today, all the rivers are present in the sea and there is a solar eclipse. Yet, we are lazy. And this is very important. Let's see what is there here. Okay, in the letter 9th May 1929, even the letter date is recorded. We don't have such record of our own lives. Tattvavit 261. So anyway, going back, this is very interesting. You see, there was a solar eclipse. Two devotees dipped in the ocean and earned punya. Actually, he was almost dead. He was rescued, but he was kind of mocking at it in this way. Two of our devotees dipped in the ocean and earned punya, but unlike them, we were deprived of earning such piety. Today, all the rivers are present in the sea, and there is a solar eclipse. Yet we are lazy. He did not go to take even bath there. I remember when we were in Prayagraj. We were in Prayag last year, 2025 January, and Sundugopal Prabhu was not very enthusiastic in going to that place to take the water. We went to some place, but he was not too interested, and we were going to the actual confluence. He did not come, so he did not consider it too important. He said, "I am here to preach. All devotees will come here, so we can have Krishna Katha." So that is the mood. It looks like, oh, you have come to the holy place, but you don't have enough reverence for the holy waters. This is Ganga, is coming from the Lord's lotus feet and everything, and Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, and you got to honor that. It is honoring the Lord. How can you not be interested? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not interested. Sprinkling water is enough, and he did not even go there. Mainly, the thing is, that's why he said, you see, the sea at Puri is certainly a Mahatirtha, but bathing in it, but bathing in it is not necessary. If you can do, you do, but it's not necessary. Just being in Puri Dham is sufficient. And also, being in Puri Dham and doing sense gratification is something else. Remembering Krishna, smarana, smartavya satatam Vishnu or vismartavya najadu. Our remembrance of Krishna should not be interrupted. That's why Narottam Das Thakur said, Tirthayatra parishram kevala maner brahma. Tirthayatra parishram, the endeavor to go to a place of pilgrimage is a kind of mental satisfaction. It's a kind of illusion, because if you really think of Krishna, you don't need to go to any even tirtha. Your mind will become tirtha. So like that. Then Alalnath. So Puruṣottama-kṣetra is Jagannath Puri, but Alalnath we will also read because it is very nearby there, and it is very significant to our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Theology. So it's a short chapter about Alalnath. So we will finish that also today, and then tomorrow is supposed to be Bhagavad Gita, but I'm going to do Puruṣottama-kathā, another topic. Maybe the Puruṣottama Yoga chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let's see. Or I also wanted to do a class on 11, 5, 33 and 34, the Mahapurusha 2 verses, and also Govindam Adi Purusham. I wanted to touch upon Brahma Samhita, all the verses, but I don't know we have time to do all of that, because that English is quite dense in that book, and to even go sentence by sentence, it will take some time to explain everything. So let me see, maybe Puruṣottama Yoga chapter I want to start. So we'll just finish this Alalnath so that we can understand even more about Puruṣottama-kṣetra. So Alalnath. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur revealed that Puri is Vipralambha-kṣetra, the place where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to sever the most elevated loving feelings of separation from Krishna. So he savored the most elevated loving feelings of separation, Vipralambha Bhava. Yet Alalnath is Dvigunita Vipralambha-kṣetra, the place of doubled separation. Alalnath. And he said Kanyakumari to be the place of tripled separation. Trigunita Vipralambha-kṣetra. And the reason for that I get, but he said that just like they did Katyayani Vrata, we can worship Kanyakumari for Krishna, like the gopis did Katyayani Vrata. So other explanation I kind of do not remember. We will see after this Alalnath if we have time a little bit. If we can quickly find that thing, Kanyakumari stuff, we can also go and read the reason why. But we'll keep it here. So yet Alalnath is Dvigunita Vipralambha-kṣetra, the place of double separation. For Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go there during Anavasara, where he could not see Lord Jagannath in Puri. So already even seeing Jagannath is kind of Vipralambha, because that mood of Vrindavan, the invitation to Vrindavan, is like a separation from that. But when he is missing, even in Jagannath Puri, in the Anavasar time, after Snana Yatra, before Rath Yatra, that period, 2 weeks is missing. Double separation. And for that, he used to relieve himself by taking darshan of Alalnath. Now, Alalnath is a Vishnu deity, four-handed form. Now, we will see, we will read here. In the temple at Alalnath, Lord Chaitanya's Viraha Bhava once became so intense that upon his offering Dandavat to the deity, the stone floor melted and left a permanent imprint of his entire body. Srila Saraswati Thakur experienced similar rhapsody when visiting Alalnath in 1918. Perceiving the adjoining forest as Vrindavan, he wandered into it enraptured. He thought the nearby forest was Vrindavan and he wandered into it enraptured. Upon seeing a red fruit on a creeper, remembrance of Srimati Radharani's red lac-dyed lotus feet gripped his heart. And becoming overwhelmed, he strayed deep into the woods. Upon returning to external consciousness, he had no idea where he was until eventually found by his disciples, who were worriedly searching for him. So this was in 1918. Red fruit on a creeper. Remembrance of Srimati Radharani's red lac-dyed lotus feet gripped his heart. That explains Gunja berry. Gunja berries, I hope, wait. Just give me a moment here. Okay. I want to show you something. I want to show you something very, very interesting. I came to know this just recently. Okay. Okay. Now, where are we? 1 second. Okay. Now I will show you something. Come on. Sometimes this technology is a little bit. I've got to be patient. Got to be patient. Just a second here. Okay. So here we have. Oh no. Gunja berry. Okay, gunja berry. This is how they look. Red, bright red seeds, berries with black there and there. And sometimes there are these gunja berry malas that are done. So apparently they come out like that. Gunja berry mala is this. Okay, why am I showing you this? Oh, very interesting. Madhya 8173. Okay, we'll come there. Now, you see this? So these are gunja berries. Okay. So the mala, how is it made? Is it is sun dried and then they become hard, and with that it is used as beads, and mala is made out of that. Now, I want to show you about something about gunja berries. Gunja berries are highly poisonous, also known as rosary pea. They contain abrin, a toxalbumin that is structurally similar to ricin and fatal even in incredibly small amounts if the seeds are crushed or chewed. Extremely poisonous. Fatal dose as little as 0.1 to 1 microgram, not gram, 100,000, no, 1 millionth of a gram, or 1/10 millionth of a gram. 0.1 to 1 microgram per kilogram of body weight, per kilogram, of course. So 72 micrograms, for example, if one is 72 kgs, or if 80 kilos, 80 micrograms, like that, can be fatal to humans. This is equivalent to chewing just 1 or 2 seeds. If swallowed whole and completely intact, the seed's hard outer coat may allow it to pass through the digestive system without releasing the toxin. However, pierced, cracked, or chewed seeds will release the poison. Ingesting the seeds causes severe and rapid toxicity, often with delayed symptoms. Severe abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, bloody diarrhea, and rectal bleeding, trembling, weak, rapid pulse, and cold sweats. In severe cases, circulatory collapse and death. So this is the gunja berry. Now, let me show you. Okay. Antya chapter 6. Gunjamala and a stone from Govardhan hill. Okay. This I want to. Yeah. Antya 6.287. एट बोली तारे पुनः प्रसाद करिला गोवर्धनेर शिला गुंजमाला तारे दिला. Gunjamala is this. Just now you saw that red mala with the gunja berry seeds. Now here though, in the word to word, it is mentioned a garland of small conch shells. Gunja means, it can also be a conch shell. So a garland of small conch shells. But actually this is not the thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. So this was a mistake by the editor. The word-to-word meanings were done by Pradyumna Prabhu at that time. I guess he did this also. But it's translated as a garland of small conch shells. That's not the... So let's see translation. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again bestowed his mercy upon Raghunath Das by giving him a stone from Govardhan Hill, Govardhan Shila, and a garland of small conch shells. But that's not a fact. He gave him this Gunja berry garland. Gunjamala. Gunjamala is that, not this. And next verse, you see. शंकरानंद सरस्वती वृंदावन होते आएला तेहो से शिला गुंजमाला लोइया गेला. Shila Gunjamala, stone and the garland of small conch shells. Previously, when Shankarananda Saraswati had returned from Vrindavan, he had brought the stone from Govardhan Hill and also the garland of conch shells. But no, it is Gunjamala. It is this red thing. पार्श्वे गाथा गुंजमाला गोवर्धन शिला दुई वस्तु महाप्रभुर आगे आनी दिला. He presented Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with these two items, the garland of conch shells and the stone from Govardhan Hill. Again, it's not garland of conch shells. दुई अपूर्व वस्तु पाया प्रभु तुष्ट होएला स्मरणे रखाले गले परे गुंजमाला. Again, here small garland of small conch shells. Upon receiving these two uncommon items, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was extremely happy. While chanting, he would put the garland around his neck. He would put the gunjamala around his neck, the red one, conch shells. Actually, this is interesting. I saw something else. Okay, let me do something. Okay, just hold on. Just hold on. There is an interesting edit that was done with a and yeah, 6 to 87. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry. I should have remembered the. Okay, let me. Gunja made of small berries. Okay. Decorated with wild flowers, a fresh garland of gunja berries, and colorful peacock feather. O Lord, who are fond of gunja berries. So the Lord is Krishna is very, for him, he's fond of gunja berries. Gunjay him with gunja berries. What is this? What is this? Ashtad Chandastava. Okay, some poem in which gunja berries. O Lord, who perform wonderful activities in the great blissful abode of Vrindavan, playing sometimes with new tumba gourds, sometimes with delicate kumbha fruits, sometimes with ripe gunja berries, and sometimes with bilva fruits or amala fruits. Okay. Padyavali, gunja berries, vayam to gunja. We will simply take shelter of a flutist who wears a necklace of gunja berries. So you see, the gunja mala is actually that. It's not a conchal garland. But this was a mistake that was done by the editors. I don't know if it was seen or not. Rings of gunja berries. Again, this is in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Quickly cleaned his own lotus face, garland of kadamba flowers around his neck, and newly fashioned rings of gunja berries on his ears. He used to decorate himself with this. Krishna. Kadamba flowers, gunja berries, and so on. So there's a lot of reference to gunja berries. And this particular yes, that's the one I was looking for. So Adi 17.279, that is the thing. Adi 17.279. Okay, so Shikhipicha, Sham Sundar Shikhipicha Gunja Vibhushana Gopavesha Tribhangima Murali Vadana. Gunja, a garland of gunja, small conch shells. Again, they said conch shells. He has a bluish complexion, a peacock feather on his head, a gunja garland, and decorations of a cowherd boy. His body is curved in 3 places, and he holds a flute to his mouth. So you see, this is the Adi 17.279. There is no mention of gunja berries. But if you see the today's version of it in the vedabase.io, they changed it to add this thing. Okay, let's go to the thing. And why I'm harping on this gunja so long, you will find out. Wait. Apparently, okay, here, small berries or conch shells. I'm not showing on the screen here. I will just show you in a second, but let me see. Here, you see gunja, small conch shells, right, in brackets. Now, I will show you the newly edited, the newest edition of it contains, because they're not sure which one is which one, so let's like put both also. They said small berries or conch shells. See that? Let me garland of gunja, small berries or conch shells. So that is, it's like kind of confusion. But gunjamala, with all the references, it refers to the gunjamala, the gunja berries. And why it is gunja berries and not conch shells is because this is, it represents Srimati Radharani, the gunja berries. My positioning of, okay. Okay, going back. Here there's an interesting comment here in the Madhya 8.173. So usually, how the translations happened in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Pradyumna Prabhu was doing the word to word and also the translations, and Prabhupada would give the purport. So they were fast tracking it so much. I don't know if Prabhupada also said it as conch shells. But you see the editorial, they changed it in the Adi 17.279 to berries or conch shells. Then they're not clear on it. So although they heard it as berries, now okay, either of it. But no, what would he do with conch shells? I mean, unless it's specifically something. But gunja berries have a very intimate relation. Ragatambula rage adhara ujjvala prema kautilya netra jugale kajjala. Her attachment for Krishna, Radharani's attachment for Krishna is the reddish color of betel nuts on her brilliant lips. Her double dealings in loving affairs constitute the black ointment around her eyes. So this red and black of the gunja berries therefore represents Radharani. And apart from apparently there is some Goswami literature on this as well, on the gunja berries and how it is representative of Srimati Radharani, and that's why it is very dear to Krishna. And her double dealings, you know, conjugal love for Krishna is an abundance of musk, and with that musk, her whole body is decorated. So Radharani is talks between, this is in the Ramananda Samvad. So there is all these things that are, craftiness and covered anger constitute the arrangement of her hair. The quality of anger due to jealousy is the silk garment covering her body. Ragatambula rage adhara ujjvala. So this red and black feature of her things. So it's representative of Srimati Radharani, and her red lac dyed lotus feet was remembered by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. No, it's Gunja in Sanskrit, yes, it's understood. Gunja is conchal only. But in these cases, it is Gunja berries. But they thought it was conchal. So that's why because as I said in the beginning already, that Gunja means conchals. So in Sanskrit. So this is there. Well, let's go back to the reading of So upon seeing a red fruit on a creeper, remembrance of Srimati Radharani's red lac dyed lotus feet gripped his heart. So this is why I mentioned that gunja berries, which may also be reminiscent of Radharani's reddish lotus feet, and her double dealings of loving affairs with Krishna, red and black. So in this way, gunja berries become very this thing. I don't know if the red fruit on a creeper. Do gunja berries grow on creepers or plants? I don't know. Gunja berry plant. It looks like from a plant and not a creeper. So it's something else that you saw. It comes in pods apparently. Pods. So interesting. Small berries, and mala is made out of it. Hardened gunja berry mala. Extremely poisonous though. And apparently the gunja berry is kind of this significance of bhakti also. If we are not careful, it can be, if we are in the dham and we do aparad, then the thing is greater punishment. So it is also related like that apparently. So anyway, coming back. So he wandered into the forest and thinking it is Vrindavan, and he saw this red fruit on a creeper, and he remembered Radharani. And then eventually he was found by his disciples. So that was one of his pastimes. In 1926, Srila Saraswati Thakur established the Sri Brahma Gaudiya Mutt adjacent to the northern corner of the Alvarnath temple compound. So his Alvarnath. Alvars are the great Sri Sampradaya saints, 12 of them, in different time periods. They came. So he's actually called Alvarnath, but in vernacular it changed to Alalnath. Some people say it's Alaganath. Alaga means beautiful, the beautiful Lord. Prahlad Prabhu told me that his name was Alaganath, but became Alalnath. Either way, the Supreme Lord. So he established in 1926 the Sri Brahma Gaudiya Mutt adjacent to the northern corner of the Alvarnath temple compound, thus naming it in honor of the worship and meditation previously performed there by Lord Brahma. Again, you see that naming apparently for which Alalnath was alternatively known as Brahmagiri. Again, so the naming of the Gaudiya Mutt, he always named it like that in every place. It has something to do with the history of that place. So in that way, he is preserving the history by even naming the Gaudiya Mutt in a certain way. Because again, as I told this many times, Bhaktivinoda Thakur took great pains to explore the maps and historical maps to finally, and also by interviewing people and meeting and taking so many copious notes, he finally came to the point of ascertaining the Gauravirbhava Bhumi, the place of appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that was confirmed by Jagannath Das Babaji, Nirdeshta. So, he understood that recording the places and with the history, all of that is very important. That's why in his Anubhashya of Chaitanya Charitamrita, whenever there is a location mentioned, he will immediately mention the railway station and everything. Because in the future, if things go and things shift, the thing that will mostly stay for a longer period of time, or there will be record of such thing, is the railway station, railway lines. So there will be maps or records, because if it's such an extensive transport system, that is a good anchor point that may last beyond governments, beyond country borders. Because if back then it was under British Raj, and country India was not a one country, it was multiple kingdoms under the British Empire. So British Empire was the overarching government, and these kingdoms are like small states. So it was like that. But now you see there is railway station even in Pakistan also, present day Pakistan, but it was part of India. So eventually in the future, India may be divided, whatever happens, those railway lines or whatever, those things will be recorded, the history of those infrastructure, or the infrastructure itself may survive such changes in political boundaries. So therefore, he envisioned that, he already knew, and instead of saying in the country of such and such and this and that, no, he mentioned railway lines. The thinking about it, if you think about it, so he knew what would stay on for longer periods of time, and even if it did not stay on eventually, there will be records of it somehow or other, because it is a more secular reference. Religious references may go away, and that has been experienced throughout civilization everywhere. When the Muslims came, invaded India, they not only destroyed the temples, they also destroyed libraries, burned them, burned the books. So any religious references may go away, but a secular reference like a railway station would remain. If you say, oh, in say 2 kilometers from this temple, if we say like that, that may or may not survive. But a railway station, even if an opposite like Muslim or any other ruler come, they would not probably want to destroy the infrastructure. Less likely to destroy secular infrastructure that would be of service to them also. Whereas a temple would not be of service to a dispensation of government which is against our Sanatana Dharma principle. So it's a very, very smart move why he mentioned railway stations all the time. Anyway, coming back. The other reason, so why I mentioned all of that. The way he mentioned his Gaudiya Math everywhere connected it to the ancient history of that place, which conveyed the bhava of that place. So, you see, there is so much nuance to that and so thoughtful. So, he named it like that. Hare Krishna. Am I audible now? But I think the volume will be a little lower because it is a little bit, it's on the table. But you got to increase the volume on your device, I guess. Tell me if the audio, okay. Okay, now it is audible. Okay, so the volume may be slightly lower because that mic was here. The battery ran out. I spoke for so long that the battery ran out. So I put it for recharging again. Yeah, it's being recharged. So that's that. That's a wireless thing. Now I've plugged a wired mic and hopefully the audio should be okay. Okay. So now I will continue. So what I was saying was, he did not say that this he revealed service to the deity. This is a very technical term. Seva Prakash, I think he used that word Seva Prakash, if I'm not wrong. He meant that he never said that, okay, in 1926, Alalnath temple was founded and the deity service began. He never said began. He said the deity service is eternal. It was revealed in this place at this time, on this date. He always said Vigraha Seva Prakash. I think that is the word he used. I may be wrong, but he used that technical term, revealing service. Service was revealed on that date. So it is an eternal service to Krishna. It was revealed in this temple on this date. Like that, his language was like that. Vaishnavochit Bhasha. There is a whole chapter about that. Vaishnavochit Bhasha means Vaishnava Uchit Bhasha. Language that is suitable for Vaishnavas, how we should talk about the deity, how we should talk about devotional service, all of that, our phrases that we use, why they should be used, and how we should think, Vaishnavochit achar, sadachar, so like that. So anyway, at this time he revealed service to the deity of Gaudiyanath. Lord Chaitanya is the Lord of the Gaudiyas. In 1931, so that was in 1926 in Brahma Gaudiya Math. And in 1931 also established Radha Krishna deities therein, naming them Sri Gopi Gopinath in accord with the sentiment of separation, and explaining that Alvarnath, a deity of Narayana, is non-different from Krishna as Gopinath. So Alalnath, although Chaturbhuj, is non-different from Gopinath. How so? Okay, he mentions that in the next paragraph. Okay, I thought I have to explain. It is already there. So he considered Alalnath, the deity of Narayan, Chaturbhuj Narayan, non-different from Krishna as Gopinath. He declared that the pond located at a short distance from the temple in Alalnath, where the deity is feted during the annual Chandan Yatra festival, and on the banks of which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would rest, is non-different from Radha Kunda. Srila Saraswati Thakur also considered Alalnath non-different from Paitha, a village in Vrajamandal, at the site where Krishna had, in sport, hidden himself from the gopis who were anxiously looking for him, and upon being found, manifested his four-armed Narayana form, which he could not sustain once Srimati Radharani arrived. And on his last visit to Alalnath, Srila Saraswati Thakur further revealed. The devotees of Gaurasundar, who is Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalita, adorned with temperament and sheen of Srimati Radharani. Sheen means complexion. Cannot serve Krishna together with persons who are on other paths. The devotees of Gaurasundar cannot serve Krishna together with persons who are on other paths. Krishna manifested his four-handed form as Narayan at Brahmagiri, which is non-different from Govardhanagiri. Mahaprabhu's adherents are Rupanugas and see Alvarnath or Narayan as Dvibhujan Muralidhar, two-handed Krishna with a flute. Most people cannot understand this, hence we have established Gopinath here. Again, Gopinath Mandir, the reasoning behind this, nobody would ever think that the Alvarnath, the Narayan form, would be anything connected with the Krishna at all. I mean, of course, Narayan is Krishna in the philosophical sense, but the intimate relation of that Chaturbhuj form, which Krishna manifested during Raslila, and the gopis asked him, where is Krishna? Then, they're asking him, where is Krishna? So in his playful nature, he appeared before them as Narayan, but the gopis weren't interested even in Narayan feature, but they were respectful. They understood it is Narayan. They knew he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore they knew that he is omniscient. Please tell us where Krishna is. They did not even think that, hey, here is my Krishna in the form of Narayan. No, they did not even think like that. They were praying to Narayan to get to Krishna. So this Alalnath deity is Narayan who came in the Raslila. And when Radharani came, his two hands disappeared and he showed his original form as Krishna. He could not contain his two arms. He could not maintain those two arms anymore when Radharani appeared. That's why this Alalnath is Dvibhujam Muralidhar, two-handed Muralidhar holding the flute. Murali means flute, Dhar means one who holds. So, in this way, that's why it is double Vipralambha, Dvigunita Vipralambha-kṣetra. So, Jagannath, by seeing Jagannath, Vamshi nahi hate. The Vamshi is not there. I want that Krishna who is in Vrindavan without all these opulence. So there is that Vipralambha going on that is manifested in Puruṣottama for the gopis. Then there is the Anavasar time where Jagannath himself is not visible on the altar. So he went and sought solace at Alalnath. But that Alalnath himself, is the Narayan form appeared before the gopis when they were suffering from their own Vipralambha during last Ras Leela with Krishna. And in their ecstasy of separation, they did not even give that much importance to Narayan, who was Krishna himself. And they asked him, where is Krishna? So that is part of their Vipralambha. Of course, in the presence of Radharani, he could not keep his two hands. And so, to reveal the original form of Alalnath, he established Gopinath. Because in the Raslila, Sriman Rasarasarambhi Vamshi Vatatatastithah Karshan Venusvanair Gopir Gopinatha Sriyastunaha. Rasarasarambhi. He is the initiator of the Raslila. So there he is known as Gopinath. All the gopis danced with him. He is called Gopinath, Lord of the Gopis. Gopi Bhartu Padakamalayur Dasa Dasana Dasa. So Alalnath is non-different from Gopinath, and therefore he established Gopinath, Gopinath. So you see his choice. Again, coming back to the point of pure vision of Puruṣottama-kṣetra, how he is connecting all of this Leela and everything so perfectly, and with such great reasoning he is establishing even those deities and the names. Again, to substantiate the original sentence in the beginning of this chapter, to savor the pastimes of the Lord through service. So, that Leela of Krishna, the memory of that Leela, the remembrance of that Leela, the recollection of that Leela is established through Seva. So, in this way, they will always find the connection between the deity and the Leela. Otherwise, we are reading Krishna book and Leelas of Krishna. Here is a deity of Krishna, and there is no apparent relation. But going to Dham with the understanding of this Leela and the intimate connection with all of this, and even establishing temple in that way, so that to reveal the secret of Alalnath in the grand scheme of the Gaudiya Vaishnava theology. So that is a brilliant move and such spiritual genius. Right? So that's how he conducted himself. So sweet. It is very, very sweet. During their installation ceremony, Sri Gopi Gopinath were taken on a decorated chariot along a trail through luxuriant glades. Glades, like thicket. Look of glades. An open space in a wood or forest. An open space in a forest or wood where there are no trees. Okay. Glades. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quoted Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhyalila 17.55. Vanadekhi Brahma hoy ei Vrindavan. As Lord Chaitanya was traversing Jharkhand forest, he mistook it for Vrindavan. As they wended through the woods, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was contemplating and also sharing with his disciples his realizations about the mood of this Leela. So you see, again, Jharkhand forest is so far away from Vrindavan, nowhere close. But he remembered Vrindavan, and therefore it is not different from Vrindavan. The bhava is what matters. Bhava is what matters. Some gap at the bottom. Anyway, so after the deity installation, Srila Saraswati Thakur went to Bentpura, reputed as the birthplace of Sri Ramananda Rai, which Srila Saraswati Thakur considered spurious. Spurious means suspicious. I think it's not. It was doubtful. That's not. Not being what it purports to be, false or fake. Yeah, fake. Fake is the word. Bogus. So he thought Bentpura was spurious, and residents of Sri Shikhi Mahiti and Sri Madhavi Devi, 2 miles from Halalnath. There he fed the local Brahmanas under the shade of an expansive banyan tree. So Shikhi Mahiti and Madhavi Devi, they were very, very intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but not much information is there in our Gaudiya Vaishnava scriptures about them. One of the most intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but they're Odia. So the Bengali Vaishnavas are featured in the Gaudiya scriptures, but the Odia Vaishnavas are somehow not featured. Don't know why. So Shikhi Mahiti is one of the, so he had 3.5 confidential associates. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, 3.5. Half is the woman, who's Madhavi. I think sister of Shikhi Mahiti, if I'm not wrong. So Shikhi Mahiti is a man, as a male. So he, Govinda and Sarup Damodar and Madhavi. These were the 4 most intimate associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And yet, we know almost next to nil about Shikhi Mahiti and Madhavi Devi. It's interesting. I would like to know more if there is any source of about Shikhi Mahiti and Madhavi more. So he went to the residence of Shikhi Mahiti. There he fed local Brahmanas under the shade of an expansive banyan tree. In Puri, Srila Saraswati Thakur once woke Sri Paramananda Vidyaratna at 2 in the morning and said, I am going to Alalnath. The surprised Paramananda asked why he was departing at that hour, to which Sri Saraswati Thakur replied, My Lord is calling me to come immediately, I must go now, and started to leave. Somehow or other, a bullock cart was arranged at 2 a.m., which soon caught up with the walking Saraswati Thakur. Saraswati Thakur was walking, and somehow this Paramananda Brahmachari somehow arranged, I don't know who he woke up, and then he arranged, oh, Sadhu is going, please, I know it's troublesome, please wake up and help. I don't know what he is. Lord is calling him. So he must have thought, oh, Lord is calling, I also want to serve Sadhu. Maybe he got one bullock cart arranged and soon caught up with the walking Sri Saraswati Thakur, who negotiated the remainder of the journey by cart. Thereafter, his servants kept his travelling paraphernalia ready at all times in case he should decide to depart without warning. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur stated that Srila Raghunath Dasa's Tattvavit should be recited at Halalnath, which I do not know what it is. I need to check. I think I made a note when I was reading this part, but my notes are here. Stavavali. So that is the end of that chapter and the end of our session here. The glories of Kurukshetra. Well, this is also related to Jagannath Puri, of course. You see, this is the statement itself. All of you know that only the bogus, hollow people and men of shallow thinking like Vrindavan. So if you like Vrindavan, you're a man of a bogus, hollow person or shallow thinking. They like Vrindavan. But those who are real, this thing, they like Kurukshetra. This was that statement. But so, as told by Sridhar Maharaj, he was very much perplexed to hear this. So, it's a very nice chapter as well, short chapter, but I don't think we have time. It's very late already. So, that's that. So, thank you very much for the Puruṣottama-kṣetra, and also let's see if there are any comments or anything that is relevant to our thing. The most relevant things I will take out. Okay. 11, 6, 12. What is that? Let's see. 11, 6 to. Oh. O Almighty Lord, you are so kind to your servants that you have accepted the withered flower garland that we have placed on your chest. Since the goddess of fortune makes her abode in your transparent chest, you will undoubtedly become agitated like a jealous co-wife upon seeing our offering also dwelling there. Yet you are so merciful that you neglect your eternal consort Lakshmi and accept our offering as most excellent worship. O merciful Lord, may your lotus feet always act as a blazing fire to consume the inauspicious desires within our hearts. Okay, why that? Without love of Godhead, life is useless. Okay. Jadumani typically refers to Sri Jadumani Das, a devoted follower and disciple within the Gaudiya Math. Um, Lord was reciting 10:21:18. This is a quotation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's visit to Vrindavan. This is a quotation from 10:21:18. It was spoken by the gopis when. Oh, this is part of the Gopi Gita. 10:21:12 to 21. Okay. It was spoken by the gopis when Lord Krishna and Balaram entered the forest in the autumn. The gopis spoke among themselves and glorified Krishna and Balaram for their pastimes. यद्रामकृष्णचरणस्पर्शप्रमोद मानं तनोति सह गोगणयोस्तयोर्य पानीयसूयवसकन्दरकन्दमूलैः. Of all the devotees, this Govardhan hill is the best. My friend, this hill supplies Krishna and Balaram as well as the cows, and covered friends with all kinds of necessities, water for their drinking, very soft grass, caves, fruits, flowers, vegetables in this way. It's not part of Gopi Gita, it's part of whatever. In this way, the hill offers respect to the Lord. Being touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram, Govardhan hill appears very jubilant. Yes, this is related to Gita. Anyway. Kanyakumari on the page 320. Okay, Kanyakumari. I don't know if we will see. We will go there, Kanyakumari, at the end. There is a story I heard that Gunja berries are devotees. They coming here when offered to Krishna's feet, they will get liberated. I think he saw the bimba fruit creeper. Actually, this bimba Bimba is in Telugu call it Dondakaya. It is green, but when it is ripe, it becomes red as Bimba. It's very tasty vegetable when cooked, but also. All right. So now we will go to that Kanyakumari and finish this session because that is Trigunita Vipralambha-kṣetra. Trigunita. Page 320. South India. Just a moment. Kurma. Okay. Visited Kanyakumari on land. This is southernmost tip of India, otherwise known as Cape Comorin. Yes. As the Vangrace returned to Trivandrum on the same day. Okay. Um, So Saraswati Thakur commented that the deity of Kanyakumari, after which the township was named, resembled that of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Sri Chaitanya Mat. And that although Kanyakumari was generally accepted to be Durga prior to her marriage with Lord Shiva, Vaishnavas consider her to be Lakshmi, daughter of the ocean, on whose shore she resides. Kanyakumari. He said that just as Kurukshetra is the place of the elder gopis, Kanyakumari is that of the unmarried gopis, and here Vipralambha Bhava is triple that in Puri. Trigunita Vipralambha Kshetra. That is the explanation. Okay, so that is that. So thank you all very much for your time and patience. So we'll end it here. So tomorrow we will continue with the Puruṣottam Yoga chapter, unless some other idea comes to my mind. So thank you very much. Sri Puruṣottama-kṣetra ki jai. श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद विजयानंद गौरी वैष्णव वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरि